Deny the lie.
Welcome back to Deny the Lie. I'm your host, Simone.
And I'm Tony.
And we have a very special guest today. We'll just be going over her overall spirituality process and development. And Tony is the one who got her onto the show. So I'm going to let him introduce her to everyone listening. So
this is Carol. She's a part of our CE5 group. And it's good to have you.
Well, it's great to be here.
Thank you.
I'm excited to share what I've learned over the years. So
Yeah.
Before we started talking, we had some very interesting conversations. We've probably been talking for like an hour straight already. So now we're recording it, so that's good.
Yes, that is good.
Yeah.
Just for the viewers to get an idea of like who you are, can you we got the spiritual background, but who is Carol? How would you define yourself for the viewers?
Well, I try to be a person that, cares about everybody and tries to see things, I try to see things very open-mindedly and on an even level with, I don't care if you're a king or a transient, you're still human, you're still human, right? And you still have a say. And that you really want to, as me as a person, I want to take that and develop that and, give everybody a fair, look at everybody the same.
Yeah.
So.
I wish a lot of people could see that in the view of you, because not everybody's so negative nowadays. Can you also give a little background of how you guys met? Because I know you were in the same CE5 group.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's a good story, isn't it?
So you have a great background of how you got to spirituality, and we'll touch more into that because I know you got 30 plus years on you of spirituality. We only have 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, we're lacking.
Yeah. So this is my first time actually meeting you as well. So Tony and Carol kind of bounce off each other, how you guys met and what the CE5 group is, so our viewers can kind of understand that too.
Okay, so I think I do remember the first time that I met you. It was we were going up north to do a CE5. It was a more general CE5. It was open to the public, and I went up there with my dad. And we got there. There was 30 people there. It wasn't a very eventful night, I remember, because it was one of my first ones. And then I remember you were sitting over there talking with one of your friends, you saw a big light or something like that. And then the leader of the group actually introduced my dad and I to you. And she's like, "Oh, she's from Austin." It's like, "Oh, us too." And she's like, "Hey, do you want to maybe think about forming a group?" And
Exactly. So what was happening in my, my little meditation is, so when I went for the first time, I think I met you around then.
Right.
I went and I started meditating. I had been meditating for years by myself.
Okay.
And so then I went into this group and they were playing a very beautiful song and we went into meditation. And when I did, I saw this, my whole third eye filled up with this light that was like the sun, but with the rays going out. And it was so white that I could barely look at it.
Wow.
And it had rods of color of the chakras and the purples and the greens and stuff shooting out through it. And so I'm listening to this beautiful thing. And what I remember doing was feeling like I could sense that the oneness, because I had never really meditated with anybody before.
Right.
And so when I went there, I didn't want to take from you, but I wanted to give to you my gift of meditation, and so I thought that was really interesting. And then so I didn't want to come out of the meditation, but I remember your dad, and it was funny because he was sitting there and he was talking about, and I didn't know anything about your mom, and he was sitting there talking about sleeping with a crystal. Now you can ask him.
Yeah.
Because she was out of town. And I was like, this is kind of funny, I want to get to know these people. And I knew they were from Austin. And so we did, another meeting or two together, we met that night.
Yeah.
And so that I think you went one more time and I met you at the meeting place before where we do the introduction.
Yeah.
And that's when we were encouraged to start a group. So your father had my number, I had his number,
Mhm.
and like literally both of us are sitting there for a month on each other's phone numbers, like
Yeah.
who's gonna call who
Who's gonna-
first, you know?
Who's gonna do it
And so
first?
finally it's like, I don't know, it was almost like the same day. Like, you know, I'm
Mhm.
thinking about calling him, and I think I did.
Yeah.
Or it could have been him calling me. It happened like, you know, so fast. And it's like, okay, let's start that group. And so we did, and you know, we started like a beginner group,
Mhm.
and we went through ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of them,
Lot of
lots of them. You know, trying to decide what was right for us.
Right. We also went through a lot of group members. There would be a bunch of people that were kind of in and out, and I mean, we have a pretty set base of people now, but when we were first starting up for like the first maybe year or so, would you say?
Yes.
It was like a lot of people were coming in and leaving, and we weren't really sure who was going to stay and who was going to leave. So it was cool to get to know so many people. It was just like, in order for everybody to be coherent, you need to be able to keep on meditating and learning more about those people.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's important, you know, all throughout, you know, any CE5 group you're in, that, you know, you have to have that open mind about everybody.
Yeah.
So can you guys explain, because I know we touched on CE5s like on our first episode ever.
Right.
What is the CE5 for you guys, and kind of explain like your process
Mhm.
into that?
Yeah, that's a better idea. I'll let you explain it. You have more experience. You know, I'm gonna sound dumb.
So what I think CE5 is to me, or, you know, what I would like it to see is we're kind of representing what we would like to see in our universal relationship with other beings out in the planetary system.
Nice.
Right.
Because for all of us to think that we're the only ones, it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to me. I mean, come on, we've got billions of planets and galaxies and everything out there. So we've been told our whole lives, you know, oh no, we're the only ones.
Right. It's the shut.
And you know, and I knew from the time I was 4 years old, you know, that's not true. You know, and so yeah, even before they told me, I knew it wasn't true. And so what we do with CE5 is it's close encounters of the fifth kind,
Mhm.
and it's actually initiating.
It's human.
Being
Yeah.
able-
It's human initiated contact with extraterrestrials. So think of it as like you're going over to their house to play. They're coming to your house to play. It's what it
Exactly.
kind of feels
It's that interaction.
right.
And it's not like, just because I say, you know, I'm an ambassador, that doesn't mean I'm
It's not a
anything.
badge of honor. Or
Yeah,
anything.
it isn't. It really isn't. It's
Right.
just like, it's just more or less saying to the extraterrestrial beings out there, I want to be a friend.
Right.
Right.
You know, let's hang out.
Yeah.
You know?
And anybody can do this, right?
Yes.
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 So you don't have to be super spiritual to like get started into it. It's just all gradually like processing into that kind of, or
Right. I think it's understanding the idea. It came in stages for me. It was understanding you're not alone, starting to meditate, realizing that there are other beings in the universe.
You know, you can see these anywhere.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also CE5, you don't have to be in a group in order to do it. I've done CE5s by myself. It's human initiated contact. It doesn't mean you have to have a group of people. It can just be you if you're comfortable enough. It's all about your
Yeah.
comfort level.
And also, I realize too that there's people that see it every day that are not part of CE5,
Right.
and they, you know, yeah, but they're trying to explore that.
Yeah.
So I think that the ETs know the future of, you know, us as beings,
Yeah.
and us as also individual beings, and they know who to show themselves to that might become something more relevant in the future.
So
Okay.
we got a background of ETs, how you got into the CE5 with Tony, how you guys met. So I want to get a little bit more into your process of becoming very spiritual. So we kind of got into how you became spiritual with like meditating when you're kids and stuff and you're busy. So what are your gifts that you first encountered while becoming spiritual? Because everybody's born with gifts, but how did you realize what yours were?
How did you tap into those and
Yeah.
realize that you had them?
Well,
Or
I think
could access them?
I think part of it is being in a relaxed state.
Okay.
You know, trying not to force yourself to have these gifts come out. You know, you just like meditate, and I feel like as I needed them, they were there. And then, you know, in time, some of them disappear and they come back. And I feel like what was relevant that I'm experiencing in my life would be what I needed at the time. So I think your gifts are something that not everybody will feel everything all the time.
Oh.
Mhm.
It's something that when it's needed for your evolutionary growth, then that's when you'll experience it again.
Okay.
I see. Yeah, I didn't realize that way. So, with becoming spiritual, I know you mentioned this prior to us recording, but you just have to meditate. So, what was your first experiences while seeing something, experiencing something while you're meditating? What is like something you can recall?
When you were in that deep relaxed state.
Okay. So I started seeing. I realized that I had opened up my third eye, and I started seeing colors and faces and different, things like that coming into my vision. The faces were very greeting to me. Like I didn't really have a lot of, negative experiences at that time. And I felt like they were almost welcoming me. And now sometimes, during the day, I would run into those faces, and say, oh my God, this is what I saw in my meditation. But other times I didn't, and
Right.
so it's very, I don't know, it was just very enlightening to me to know that these could actually be beings. It was almost like the connection. Hey, if I'm seeing some here and they're real in my meditation, is the rest of this real as well?
Right.
And so then I got to that stage, and that's the funny thing is like that's when I started doing that for years, and then I did astral travel, and I had remote viewing situations,
Mhm.
and I was able to just sense things about people. I had a very good moral compass about what was going on around me, and being able to sense the spirituality of others.
Okay.
And
And
you could
so
read people's vibration.
yes. And you can tell like right off my I want to say my instincts were very heightened.
Okay.
It's like
What?
intuition.
Yeah, intuition. That's the word I'm looking for. And it seemed like it was very heightened. And then I could tell more of what I didn't feel comfortable with and what I did feel comfortable with.
With certain people.
With certain people and events.
Hmm.
It's like part of what you want to, it's like, being in a dark alley, you get mugged.
Oh,
Well, maybe you
yeah.
don't want to be in a dark alley.
Right.
Yeah. That intuition that you don't want to be in certain places, it's not favorable to you.
Yeah. So how did you learn to follow the intuition? Because I know that when a lot of people meditate, or at least I'm prone to this myself, you're trying to turn off the analytical part of everything.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Do you have any advice on
Yeah.
like how to do that?
It gets back, I think, to relaxing. Don't expect too much from yourself.
Okay.
Just let whatever yourself is doing come to be. Because I think we set our minds into thinking, oh, okay, I want to sit down and I'm going to meditate and this is what I expect to happen. And
Yeah.
I want to see this and I want to see that and I want to become this great. I think it's not like that.
Yeah.
I think it's more like just relax and see what comes.
Right.
We're so uptight about, how we're going to grow and how we're going to be a part of the bigger picture. Well, maybe you already are.
Yeah. And
And you just don't know it
yeah,
yet.
you also have that expectation of outcome, like you were saying, and maybe that's not what's going to happen at all.
Exactly. And so if you open up your realm of creativity and without the expectations, then maybe your journey will be a little easier.
Well,
Right.
so I don't know for you, Tonya, I think we kind of relate to this. Your mind is just so busy with thoughts. How do you calm that down during meditation? What's your
Well,
tip?
they say that, you can do breathing exercises and, it's really funny. I just do it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like people, they say, okay, do these breathing exercises and do this and do that. But I find that confuses me more because then I'm laying there in the meditative state and I'm saying, okay, breathe, and I'm hating myself. But when I think that it's like almost like just put yourself in where you're starting to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
it's just relax, and don't push yourself. Just relax and see what comes. And you'll find that what you start to see will kind of dissipate what you're thinking.
Right. I also had the funny thing happen to me where I was, how like people say don't think of a purple elephant and then you immediately will. I kind of did that, but in like the reverse for meditation. I was like, think of something, and I was like, huh. And I was just sitting there.
Right. And so me, I just learned like within time to just not worry about it. Just, if these thoughts come, it's very, very easy to, get involved with them, but just try to, kind of say, okay, and dismiss it.
Right, not associate with them.
Yeah, and let those thoughts, unless it's, and I think that sometimes you have to associate with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it might be part of what you're trying to learn. So, but I say, look at them and try to discern where, and then let them go, like
Right.
in a very flowing manner. I totally believe that, when you're in the manifesting of things, your thoughts are all of it. You know what I mean? Everything, like when you put a thought out, that thought goes out into the universe, bounces back as something.
Right.
And that thought that you're putting out there and then it bounces back, I think that is part of the manifestation, cycle of what you're manifesting.
Just out of curiosity, how well can you manifest?
Okay, so I was thinking I need a new ironing board, I need a new iron, and I need a table. Okay, a table for my printer, whatever, And so a lady that I know called me and asked me to come and clean her house a couple of days later, and she had 3 items that her mother didn't want: a table, an ironing board, and an iron.
Wow.
And so you just have to believe that it's there.
That's what I was gonna say too. Instead of I was gonna say that maybe it's not the thoughts that create reality. There's an aspect of that. It's also the beliefs, right?
Yes, I think you have to feel like, oh, it's there.
Yeah.
It's already there for me. It's like they say, fake it until you make it kind of thing.
Right.
And you do kind of the same thing with what you want around you. Like I feel like, like one time my son gave me a purse, and my life was going really, nice and smoothly. And he gave me a purse for Christmas. And it was one of those handbags that everything's just stuffed in there, And then you're trying to go through this bag every day, finding the littlest of items. And then I found out, as I'm looking at this bag and I'm holding it, my life is starting to become chaotic.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get rid of this bag, because I'm like, I'm used to pockets, because all of my creative power was in this system that I've done for years. And now he all of a sudden gives me this bag and I'm like, this strap broke. I'm trying to tell him, but it's really that, if he forgive me, if he hears this, but it's like, so I felt like when I manifest things, I have this belief and this feeling and knowing that things come to you freely.
Okay.
And in this bag, I had all this chaotic, but when I put all my stuff back into a bag with the beliefs like we have, and the feelings and the knowing, then my life straightened out because I knew what everything was in my bag now.
Yeah.
And it kind of made, so even the simplest of things that you think are not interrupting your life, maybe.
Yeah. So life is honestly simpler than what people perceive it as.
I think so. I think we just struggle so hard to be so, we got to be so rich and we got to be so successful. What is success? You know what I mean? Is it like just looking in the mirror and saying, I love myself today?
Yeah.
Or is success, I love my bank account? You know what I mean? I think we have a big misconception in this world of what success is.
Yeah, it's an unrealistic idea of what your life should be like because you're bombarded with, models and entrepreneurs flying their $100 million, airplane in the sky every day or something like that. It gives you a false sense of reality, like, oh, I should be living like that when I don't think you want to live like that.
Well, I think it's like a combination. You don't want to forget that, money's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I'm not saying you don't need money. It's more of it's a tool instead of being what your life should just be about is not just the money.
I think you should love money.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should cheat people to get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
or take advantage of people to get it. And, or my thing is when all the time is from a young age to now, my biggest joy was not to have a lot of money in the bank. Mine was, let me pay my bills and give me a little bit extra and I'm okay with that. But most importantly, one of my biggest little fantasies is I always wanted to play the harp for God, and whoever thinks about that, it's like, well, what would you like to do to create joy? what would you like to do to create happiness? It's not just about money. And so I learned over the years I love money, but and it would be nice to have a little more.
It helps.
But it still doesn't make me run out there and do these, like marry somebody because of their money.
It doesn't give you the same purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of purpose, I know we're having a hard time finding our purpose. Do you believe that you found your purpose?
I feel like you never really do. Like, I feel that it's just an ongoing process where you're really, like, your purpose is here and now. What are you doing right here and now that makes a difference? And it's like, and even if that experience isn't necessarily good according to everybody else, is it serving your purpose?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Are you learning? Can you look back and learn from that purpose? So, so people always think that they have to have this great, this is my purpose in life. I think people have paths in life, but what they do on that path, that's going to define what their purpose has become.
Okay. So maybe your purpose is honestly just existing and living life and finding out different paths to, experience.
And enhance that.
Do you think that there's predetermination, or this kind of goes back to the manifesting thing of like what we were talking about before we started recording of like, you can have Bible says you can have all these things, you can also lose them too. But do you believe in like predetermination and like I understand manifesting your reality and stuff like that, so I can have whatever I want if I ask, right? So can't that kind of be the same thing with life purpose, or do you think it's sort of a predetermined thing that you're just going to find later on your path?
I don't think that, we live with a predetermined, like people think I came, back reincarnated and I came to do this and that's my purpose.
Right.
I don't really think that that's, and this is the path that I'm supposed to be on.
Okay.
I think that all throughout your life, you're given like a path with many exits and entrances. And it's up to you to pick those. You know what I mean? So, and sometimes you may pick the wrong path, but
you course correct?
Yeah, of course correct, And so, but picking the wrong path doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that, it just means that it gave you the ability to correct, and you're not correcting like necessarily like, I want to say it's more like correcting your own self, like checking yourself and saying, hey, I went down this path, but I don't believe that's who I am or who I want to be.
Okay.
So I want to go back and redo this and try to find another way to get down the path where I can feel more comfortable or at ease with what I'm being to others.
Okay.
So
that's a really interesting perspective. I never looked at it that way, is that you kind of can't really pick a wrong one, right?
No, you really don't. It's like, several times in my life because of, just like I got to work, I got to pay bills, I need to do this, I got to,
you still have the human tendencies, right?
And I think that you need those. You have to learn from those. And I think that then you'll get back into spirituality and, like you would have been meditating and then life caught you up and then you have to go back, feel like you got to go back into meditation. I think that part that you didn't is just as important as the part that you are.
Right. So can you touch on that a little bit more? Because I know a lot of people are like, I have to meditate every single day or I'm going to lose my spirituality tendencies. Or I know a lot of people want to experience life and be spiritual. Like, what is your take on balancing the two, and like how is it okay for people to take breaks during spirituality?
Well, I think it's not only okay, but it's impertinent because you have to be able to, like, without the experience of life, you can't learn from that. And when you go back into meditation, it's almost like you're kind of trying to correct what you felt to redirect what you've experienced, for your evolution. So, it's like, I was, speaking before we started recording that, when I joined CE5, I felt like I should eat these foods and I should, meditate every single day for this long or that long. Yeah. And I shouldn't listen to this kind of music or that kind. And I shouldn't, go here or there because of this people or that people. And then I felt like I've kind of shut myself in and shut myself down. And I don't want to do that. I want to go out and I want to dance and I want to dye my hair and I want to, I want to paint my nails and I want to hug my grandchildren and I want to be a part of, the bigger picture of my family, because like a lot of times when we get caught up in meditation and things like that, some people lose their family relationships.
Yeah.
And you got to be both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't dislike your brother or your uncle or somebody just because you're a meditator.
Right.
Yeah.
What purpose does that serve?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or they shouldn't dislike you because you are doing this. It's not like you're more profound than them. You're still a part of it. And maybe, we were talking in that sometimes when we're learning things and we're speaking to others, it's like teaching us as well.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
yeah, so it's like a give and take.
Right, because my understanding is we come here for a reason, maybe to a life lesson. I don't know if that's involved with our purpose, and I think you just said a lot of relief for people who are struggling to find a purpose, and maybe just existing is their purpose. So relating the two, it's okay just to like exist.
I think so. I think that in that existence, we will find where we need to be.
Exactly.
Okay.
And most of it, like, I feel like all the experience that I've had, which people would call negative or bad, I can't always look at them that way.
Mhm.
Because like if I didn't go through what I went through in my life, I wouldn't be who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at this point in my life, you may not feel that as you're going through these experiences, but as you get older, you can find that you can look in the mirror and say, you know what, I kind of like who I am. And it might take years to get there for some people, but you got to be able to understand that liking who you are in the end, without all that, and those experiences, you wouldn't be the same. So so don't judge yourself too harshly during those periods.
Yeah.
Because you might have needed that. And you don't even know that until 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're stressing for no
Yeah.
reason. I'm like getting back into ETs and spirituality beings, because I just want to know, what is your take on the difference between spiritual beings and ETs?
Or
Okay,
is there
well,
one?
I don't think there is. Like, I think we're all spiritual beings.
Okay.
First of all,
Yeah.
no matter who we are, we're a spirit. Okay. And I really think that we're light beings, but we just have different levels of vibration that we tend to, be in. And I think that the ET that, like, a lot of people talk about negative ETs. I've been working with ETs for, probably 4 or 5 years, like you.
Yeah.
I mean, I was more meditative and spiritual before I always knew they exist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I've had a few experiences like in my life, like when I was younger, I used to have dreams all the time, and my life, was filled with work when I was younger from my, in my own family. One night in my dreams, like an ET gave me a chair, and this chair was like a flying chair, and I could fly up and down the street in my dreams in this chair. And I always felt like they gave me that because my life was so full of work that it was a time for me to play.
Oh, okay.
And so sometimes I think they're interacting with us to bring us that joy. And we forget that as we grow up, we're so brainwashed by what we're told that we forget that, what we experienced back then that actually brought us to where we are with the ET. And so now I have, I have the feeling or sense that they're always around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's part of, because I've had, I've been taught what I was taught didn't make any sense to me, and so now what am I making sense out of my life,
Right. You raised Catholic, right?
Oh, no.
No?
I was my family was not religious at all.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
I actually was the one that initiated going to church.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I went to church, and even through grade school, I went to church every Sunday, and, my mom bought me the little Bible story books and stuff that you saw in the dentist office,
Yeah.
and I fell in love with the stories and that. But as I got older, I realized that a lot of the stories are contradictory to each other.
Right. That's what I was saying. That's what I wanted to know your perspective on. Because
Yeah.
if you went to church, for so many years of your life, people could be like, oh, you either, it's the desire to be put into kind of a group. It's like, okay, I was raised Catholic, so I need to believe the Bible and all these other things, and this can't exist because this says it can't.
Well, see, what I found is like I went and I felt like I was drawn there to learn about God.
Okay.
Like or what we call creator in the spiritual world.
Right.
It to me is one and the same.
Yeah.
And learning about the creator aspect of it, a lot of people think that when they're doing CE5 that, they're just talking to the ET.
Mm-hmm.
But I had like several months last year where I was like, where's God in all this? Or where's the creator in all this? And, I was like hesitant to even go and do CE5 because I felt like there was this really distinct, like CE5 was leaving out God. Yeah. But then, what I realized is that not really. Right. You end up having, if it's truly your desire, you end up having the best relationship with God that you ever could.
So I grew up Catholic, like Tony. I wasn't very into the classes because I just didn't, my parents didn't make me sign up for this. So how can someone connect more with spirituality and God and knowing God is the creator? Because I know a lot of Catholics in the Catholic Church had a whole bunch of scandals.
It's the idea that it has to be a certain way, and it's a very black and white perspective.
And like back then, church was used to control people, and just not so much what I believe in as that. But how can someone separate the two and just find the overall best moral of like church?
Well, see, I think, trying to separate the two is like very difficult.
Right.
Because you are a part like that, like the experience you had in there gave you some kind of moral compass. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that moral compass, and then you expand on that. Well, what's out in the universe? And, are they, from what I understand, they're very advanced.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to get us up to that advancement. And so then you try to bring in everything you learned about God, and then you turn that into it's the creator consciousness of creation.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't want to believe that God is someone up there sitting on the throne saying, you got to go to, you're going to go to hell or heaven. I feel like everything is an experience.
Yeah.
And so in spirituality, I learned to accept those experiences as a way of being taught or to be teaching myself how to be a better person. And so I really didn't get further away from God. I got closer to God because I understood our connection more.
Right. It's also understanding that if there's one creator, you both come from the same, labor. Like,
yeah,
we both come from the same source.
Exactly.
So there's really no difference anyway.
Yeah, I and God are one.
Exactly.
But you're a piece of God and you're a piece of God. I guess so, like one way I could explain it, that I've heard or read in books as well, is that you've seen the movie The Matrix, and you see where the guy breaks up into all the little pieces. Well, I feel like that's kind of what creation is to us, is like when the consciousness of God and the energy of being were together, God kind of separated himself out into each one of us. So none of us is better than the other or less than the other because it's each a piece of the creation.
Okay. So
whether you're an ET or whether you're a human, you're still a piece of that creation because, the creator created everything. And I've had people say, well, how can you follow the ET or, that's cultish or whatever. Well, wait, if God created everything, didn't he create the ET? We're just happen to be the, third grade or first grade or kindergarten planet.
Yeah.
As compared to...
That's the perfect way of describing it.
Yeah, as compared to what's out there in the universe. I mean, okay, think. They can travel to us.
Yeah, we're very
blind. They can do wonderful things with our spirit. Yep. They enter our meditations. My God. Yeah. Just think about that. Yeah. You go into a deep meditation and then all of a sudden ETs are introducing themselves to you.
Like what?
So we box ourselves in.
Yeah.
And we got to get out of that box because God created that. God created me. God created the ET. But God created that connection between us.
So
and that's what we forget.
Why do you think that happened, though? Because I know in the Bible there's a whole bunch of sins and rules and morals you're supposed to follow, but why do you think they wanted to box us in?
Well, I think it's, partly for control.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's very confusing, some parts of the Bible that I read,
Yeah.
and there's other parts like, a lot of people don't realize there was like 26 books of the Bible that were left out.
Oh, there's 200 religions.
Right.
How do you
Yeah.
know which one is right?
And, and what I started following was more of, the Bhagavad Gita. I'm just now learning it. So I can't always quote everything right of what I've learned and stuff. But I started, looking at that, and that's pre-religion.
Okay.
So the Vedic is pre-religion. So, you got to do your homework.
Yeah.
You can't just say, hey, this is what my Sunday school teacher taught me.
Right.
And, think about church, okay?
Yeah.
You go to church, you have heard the same 100 stories your whole life. When, I was involved with the church, I went to church, I was a Sunday school teacher, and I would go to the elder class, like, where the elder people are discussing the Bible,
Okay.
Elder Bible study,
Yeah.
right? So I would go to that, and they absolutely loved me there because I brought in a different perspective.
Okay.
Right.
And I think that's important. It's like, there's more to everything than those 100 stories.
Yeah.
And we get so locked into that throughout our lives that it turns us to be very close-minded.
Yep.
It turns us to be like, oh, you're not like me. Really? We all put our pants on the same way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We all run into problems. We all have victories. We all have sad feelings, happy feelings. None of us are above any of that.
Yeah, we're all imperfect.
Yeah, and I feel like the ET are the same way.
Yeah.
They have their up days, they have their down days. They may be more advanced, but that doesn't mean they don't feel anything.
Yeah.
So I feel like their feelings are very much part of the creator as well. And that's why he, or the consciousness of creation is there.
Oh.
Yeah, that just summed it up great.
That's a good perspective.
It's
I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people, like Christians, the main religion in America, they're very resentful to these ideas. And do you think it's because of the Bible or what they're taught is like, you shouldn't be thinking that way for controlling purposes? Or
Well, I think they've been taught these ideas from a very young age,
yeah.
because if you look back into the United States, okay, and how religion, it came here from other countries. So it was already preconceived of what you were supposed to think and what you're supposed to know.
Right.
But science is proving that that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
And, so we try to, in learning to be what they call more spiritual, we're trying to understand why we had those feelings. And then you have all the religions that want to constantly fight each other, and then I even see CE5 groups that are clashing with each other.
Right.
And I'm thinking, come on, it's like you hold yourself as ambassadors, but or religious leaders, but you're really doing no different.
Right.
You're not looking at the whole picture.
It's the one size fits all mentality that's kind of destroying everything. It's like, no, my religion says it's this way. No, mine says it's this way.
Right.
And instead of just having a conversation about it, and you probably find if you did, you would have a lot more in common with them than you would think.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and it's not only that, but it's religion and spirituality. There's a big separation there.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Really, we're just going through stages.
Yeah.
And in my life, religion was the first stage. But then spirituality came later as I grew up as an adult and realized that religion in my life, in my particular life, did not fit the way that everybody said it would. And, it's like, oh, you're going to have miracles if you pray, but then I had hardships. So does that mean God doesn't like me? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
This is a very untrue statement. You can't say, oh, God rewarded me. No, you're creating your own rewards. You're creating your own, life and your own spirituality to come out of that. Like there's experience groups and there's, advanced groups and there's beginner groups. And I think it's good to go through the stages just like you do of everything.
Right.
But just because you're, consider yourself advanced or experienced, that doesn't mean you shouldn't teach the other groups because if you or get along with other groups, because basically if you do, you'll find that that other group can teach you things. Like if you ever looked at a baby or played with a baby and forgot, how to do something, and then you see that baby do it or forget that you did it, and then you see that baby do it, then you brings back to you, oh my God, I do that, And so it's like, yeah,
watching me do that.
yeah, and so it's like this give and take, learning from each other rather than I'm so much better or don't hang with me. And religion does that, in some C5s you'll run into that, and I would hope that in the future we can cut all those boundaries.
Yeah, it's just leave it at the door when you come into the group. Just leave it outside. You don't need to talk about politics. You don't need to talk about anything that's not CE5. Like, there's no. I mean, you can still talk about yourselves and stuff like that. I'm not saying that. It's more of leave all the controversial stuff at the door.
And the same thing with religion. It's like why is one religion better than the other?
Mm-hmm.
If the God is the creator, or the creator God, or creator consciousness is what I like to refer, didn't he do that for all of us?
Right. It's not just for this group.
Yeah. It's, nobody has to be there, and it's like, and I'm seeing as we're developing on this planet that we're trying to leave those ideas behind.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that in the children. And
absolutely.
the children are teaching the adults not to be that way.
Yeah.
And the adults are starting to teach their children that and understand that it's not supposed to be that way as well.
Yeah.
So kind of related to the topic of the new generation teaching the old, how do you think the universe, ETs, spiritual beings are trying to affect our world now with all this chaos going on? Like, how do you think they're going to develop that, or maybe make that a new awakening we're all waiting for?
Well, I think that we're going through that awakening now. Because I think that a lot of the lies we've been told are being shedded.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, okay, 10 years ago, I wouldn't even be having this conversation with you.
Yeah.
There might be other people that are having it with their friends that know about this, but 10 years, no, I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
And even though Dr. Greer has been doing this since the 90s, I just found him, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, it's like, each one of us will go through the stage in order to help our evolutionary path individually, but as a group. So I think right now we are awakening. We are going through a very pivotal point of time, because I don't think it's the kids so much that's got to wake up.
It's
I think it's the adults, or
kids,
the ones
kids
that
are fine.
Yeah, they're, I find so many things come out. I've been a nanny, and I find so many things that comes out of these kids' mouth is just like, oh my God, this is, like, oh my God, what ET dropped you off here? Because somebody's certainly gotten in, or you come back from an advanced civilization, which is many people's beliefs, or, there's people that have written books about it, that, the ETs are on our planet, and they are trying to help us to evolve. And I truly believe that, but I also believe that, our DNA, like our ancestors have been here, have been ETs. I mean, it's all over the hieroglyphics and everything. So how, did they ever leave? You know what I mean? Or did we just become more closed-minded?
Right.
And so, or more brainwashed. So, now we got to get into the facts that, hey, maybe they're still here. Maybe you're sitting with one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe you are one. You just don't know it yet.
Right.
So where's your, so where's your awakening, within yourself?
So,
and that's where you got to find that.
And with that, one of the last questions that I have is, what message you want to put out based on spirituality and life purpose? Maybe not so much purpose, because we kind of touched on that, but like life existence.
Well, I think that, each of us has to be responsible for our feelings and our love towards one another.
Mm-hmm.
And that nothing in this world should bring you above anybody else. We all should be we need to create this world together now. We've lived in the individuality and separateness and singularity for so long that we really need to come together. And when, I also looked at life like, so when you die and you pass over, you can see the creator, and there's this, great big picture on the wall. And you realize when you're far away, like you're here, you can't see the big picture.
Right.
But when you pass away, and then that whole big picture is shown to you, then you get to come back again. You bring a piece of that with you. And you find that even the dark spots in the picture make it beautiful. You know, like without the dark lines that define the person's face or define the dog's, you know, the dog's backside or whatever.
Mhm.
Without those dark spaces, you don't realize how light the light is. So you have to look at this whole thing as like, we don't see the whole picture yet.
Yeah.
And we've got to open our mind to know that there is a whole picture out there. And that if we could just be more open-minded, we might be able to see more of it, you know, in this life, in this existence. So
That was good. That was all the like more serious questions I have. I mean, there's some fun ones I want to ask if you're okay with that.
sure.
So I'm more into reading auroras and stuff like that. So what do you think of like Tony and I? Like, how do you see ours or?
Can you kind of sense our relationship as well? Of like how we relate to each other?
You bounce each other, you know, bounce your ideas off each other in a really good way. Like I can feel that you have a connection, but you're just learning that, and you have, you know, time to let it blossom.
Yeah.
And where that will go is, you know, of course, up to you,
Right.
you know, as individuals and as a united team,
Yeah.
you know.
Good.
And I don't know, I'm biased on this because I know Tony.
Yeah.
And I've experienced like a lot of things with Tony in CE5, which, you know, I encourage people to do CE5,
Yeah.
but please keep an open mind about others, because just
Right.
because you're in CE5 doesn't mean you shouldn't dance.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you shouldn't eat certain foods. You know, like get out there and
It's
live.
not like it's
Yeah.
not a formal like service. It's like it's you're supposed to have fun.
Yeah, and I mean, I party with ETs in my backyard, you
Yeah.
know, and I dance, and I do all these really fun things, and they're, you know, they're pertinent to me,
Yeah.
you know, as a person. And so when I see different people, I just see your inner light shining. I don't really see like the, you know, the auras so much,
Okay.
but I can see the level of light coming from you.
Okay.
So you can kind of like feel the positiveness from someone.
Well, actually, when I look at your physical, I can see like the light in your heart. And if it's brighter or dimmer, it
Mhm.
kind of just tells me where you are right now.
Where am I at right now? What can you see?
You're very, I see like a very, like almost real bright light, but it's almost like you're trying to, like you've got a feeling of you want to know more.
Yeah.
You know, it's like your light's like glimmering in a way. And Tony's is, you know, like that, but a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
Because he's, you know, he's a but it's not, no, see,
I'm
that's
just kidding.
that separation.
He's kidding.
That's what I'm saying. You know, we got this
It's a bad
separation, but we got this feeling that, you know, one is better than the other. And
Yeah.
it's really not. You know, a lower
I just did
vibration.
that just to make fun of you.
Yeah.
So I was just kidding with it.
You know, and even me, it's like, I don't, you know, even though I have like years and years of experience, I want to share that. I don't want to think that I'm better than anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would
Yeah.
rather like sit here and like my light is the same as yours,
Mhm.
you know, and it's I don't feel like I'm better or,
Yeah,
you know,
just
that
have more
I'm,
knowledge.
you know, or experience,
Yeah.
you know, and what to
Mhm.
do with that. But I don't want to hold that, you know, you hostage in my head because of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't want to think of you any different than I am. You're just getting started, and
Yeah.
God, what I see in your past is amazing. You know, and I think that that's
Cool.
really good for, you know, I think that's good for the older generation to, you know, feel like, you know, because a lot of people say, oh, the kids these days. Oh my God, kids these days are amazing. You know, like,
You're like the only positive experience I've had with that. Everybody that's 50 says the kids our age don't want to work, but I always hit them with the, you know, did you grow up with the internet?
Right.
I think you would have turned out the exact same way.
but you know, them not working now, what are they going to be later?
Right.
You know, they might be more better. Like, you
Yeah.
know, I have,
Yeah.
you know, 4 very successful kids, and then I have one that I call the wanderer. But who's more successful?
Right.
The 4
That's a good
kids
point. Yeah.
that are, you know, working to strive to earn money and be this and that, or the one that's just living day to day and, you know, experiencing and, you know, being who he is every day and having to just, you know, be out there and, you know, to be his best that he can be. So which one's more successful? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think no less of him,
Yeah.
have no less feelings about him that I do them, because I think that they're all successful in their own way. And even, you know, I was a widow and I raised my kids relatively by myself for, 15 years. And, you know, I used to always say to my kids, I don't care if you're a transient or you end up being the queen or king of a nation or a president or whatever, but whatever it is you choose to be, just be the best damn one there is. If you're a transient, hey, be the best you can be. Don't use people, don't hurt people, go out there, love people, be a part of, whatever you can be in your community. And then all that together, you'll become more beautiful to each other.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah. Well, I told my kids that. I hope they listened. And I still love my wanderer, just as much. And I love my son that thinks I'm not all that great, and I love him. Even the Bible, says if you want to get back to the religious aspect, it says the one that's lost is the one you should love the most.
Right.
And so why aren't we loving the ones that are lost the most?
Mm-hmm.
We tend to judge them rather than love them. So where are we with this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pay attention to that.
Yeah. Well, I have questions.
Yeah, I'm at all right now.
Yeah. Great to have you. Hope anybody who listened has a different perspective. I definitely came out with a few different things on my mind, so it's really awesome to have you, Carol.
Well, it was really nice to talk to both of you, and I think our conversation can help a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I think that just because I'm older and you're younger doesn't mean I didn't learn a few things from you guys. Right. And it's like, and I think that's part of it too, is don't lose your joy for life.
Yeah.
Just because you meditate or you're in this group or in that group or in this religion or that religion, dance.
Yeah.
Share food. Hug each other. Look at the children. Look at the adults the same. We're all just bouncing off of each other.
Right.
Let's make that a beautiful dance with each other.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks everyone who decided to join in and listen, and
We'll see y'all next time.
yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Power. Money. Total control. Deny the lie.